And I wanted to thank Larry and Bobby, well, all of you, for helping to organize this morning. You'll see that there's a video camera here. It's here for a purpose. And part of our job is not only to speak to you, but to get information out on our website so people can see your questions, see and hear your questions, and see and hear my responses. This is a campaign that is very grassroots. We do a lot of backyard parties, and we also want to make sure that you ask your members to go to our website and find out and become informed voters. Again, I also want to thank Andrew Duck for being here. Andrew waged a valiant campaign against Roscoe 2 years ago. We're trying to build on that strength that he helped to create and create another level of excitement that ratchets up voters and gets them to the polls and votes our way on November 4th. So you see our video man, Bruce, here. You met him at the Western Maryland Summit. So don't be afraid. He'll ask your permission if you don't want to be on TV. But this format is a little different from what I've used normally in the backyard barbecue parties. I want to talk specifically about the economy and how the economy is struggling. Now, the national economy, if you measure it in numbers, is still not technically by the books in recession. But what we really want to focus on is the reality of how Main Street merchants feel and how average homeowners and families feel trying to make ends meet at the end of the week. I heard a terrible story a couple weeks ago on the radio about a young woman in Texas who had actually sold her blood platelets to the Red Cross so she could fill her tank of gas and get to work. Now, this is a terrible story, and even if it's a fabrication or a creation, it's as bad as it gets if that's the kind of thing that's happening in this country. It means we've fallen short of our ideals of creating opportunity for people. And you, as strong leaders in your community and in your workplace, you know that we have to fight to protect every job. And one of the things that the people in the White House and the current administration and Roscoe Bartlett have fought for is protections for the large business interests and very few protections for us. You know, Roscoe has a little advantage on me. He's been in office an awfully long time. But I was in office for 4 years as the mayor, and I am the only person who's balanced a government budget. I had to make choices, and they weren't always popular choices. I even suggested, of all things, cutting the size of government. It really wasn't well received, but it was an effective use of what we had to do with our money, because I know we collect enough in taxes in most cases, and I believe in government doing an important job, but we also can't do every job. The jobs that are created in small business and large business alike are the ones that we have to focus on. And they're the things that Roscoe hasn't focused on, they're the things that George Bush hasn't focused on, and they're the things that John McCain hasn't focused on. And if we think of those three people as being emblematic of the current Republican administration and what could possibly happen in the next 4 years, I think we definitely have to make the change. And making the change is more than just you kind people coming here. Making the change means convincing people, taking them to the polls, educating them, making sure that they vote to protect their financial interests for a change. And one of the things I think that has hurt previous candidates for Congress, and I know that held back our success 2 years ago, is that we have members of the union. You're just going to have to change that chair. I can pass up on it once. But the people in the 6th Congressional District really have to look at focusing on our personal financial interests and to see how Roscoe Bartlett has not worked on us. Just let the customers laughing at us. Now I'm distracted. The job creation is one thing, but looking at how the votes in Congress have come back and hurt us are another thing. Now, we don't often spend a lot of time talking about specific votes. People ask me, and I know they ask Andrew, the questions about, you know, how old is Roscoe? Or what did he promise, 1 or 2 terms? And those are important issues if that's all he's doing. Because the folks here in the 6th Congressional District can't really point to too many votes that Roscoe's taken. But you, as active people, you already know. Recently, he voted against extending unemployment benefits in a time when families are struggling like never before. He voted recently, or he moved recently, to support drilling in the Arctic at a time when gas prices are through the roof because he thought it would help us. Well, logically, we examine that and we know that it won't help. Maybe a penny on the gallon, maybe in 10 years. And based on the current use of gasoline, it may be a 3 to 9 month supply of gasoline. Not very much. So it's going to take 10 years to get less than a year's worth of gasoline and oil out of the ground, when we know deep down the Arctic should be preserved for its natural resources. You know, the irony of Roscoe making that move in a week when even the Bush administration had to acknowledge, grudgingly, that the polar bear had to be on the endangered species list. So we were going to start drilling in the polar bear's backyard so we can get 3 months of oil for a penny a gallon. Roscoe Bartlett is a leader in Congress on the discussion of peak oil. And we can all respect that. It takes a lot to become a recognized expert on something. The trouble is, his expertise hasn't been translated into anything that matters to us. Because if you ask your coworkers and your members, are they better off with Roscoe having been in office? They have to say no. They have to say no. Because companies are able to pick up and move. They have. Companies are allowed to readjust their pension plans. Companies are allowed to downgrade their health benefits. They're doing this all as a part of a strategy to, quote, protect their bottom line and serve the stock market. Now, yes, it's true that most of us have an interest in the stock market, but really, the interest goes to the CEOs and the boards of directors, not the average shareholder, to any significant degree. So if you're going to ask your coworkers, your peers, and your members, the members of your unions, to come out and talk to their friends and neighbors about it, ask them, is Roscoe really doing anything for us? Because your financial interests are being tested. Your financial interests are being hurt. He voted against minimum wage. Well, how can anyone live on $6 an hour? How can anyone live on $7 an hour? I own a small business, and I have for 21 years. I haven't paid minimum wage in an awfully long time because the market forces drive me to where I need to raise my rates. And also because I want to hold on to my employees. Once they're there, they're better to hold on to than to bring in a new batch and train them. Trust me, last night I was training some new ones. But you know that the interests of working people have not been protected by Roscoe Bartlett or the Bush administration. And you know that John McCain really doesn't have much of an interest in it. John McCain says, oh, I'm going to give you a gas tax holiday this summer because the price has gone up so much. Well, there's really not a lot of logic in that. Again, you're smarter than that. You understand that it's more debt. You understand that it probably won't trickle down to us at the gas pump. You understand that that will also hurt our jobs because we will be delaying our infrastructure improvements. The roads and bridges on which we travel every day, those will become more and more damaged. And we all know that if you're traveling on a damaged road, your car gets less and less effective, and you would be losing anything that you have. So your brothers and sisters that work on roads and bridges, they need to make sure that there is a secure source of income. And if you travel those roads, you want to pay your fair share of that. Do I think we need to raise the rates of the federal gas tax at this point? No. But I think it's pandering in the utmost. I think it's pandering in the utmost to say we're going to waive that. Because they did it with the war in Iraq. They issued an IOU. Is that $2 or $3 trillion? Who knows what the cost of that will be in the end? Where else could that money be spent? We know that we're going to be paying interest on that forever. Amanda, how old are you?
19.
19 years old. God bless you, girl. I can remember when I was 19.